Hello YouTube, welcome to Tech with Don. I am Don and I'm excited to welcome you back to this channel. This being the first video of the year, I would like you to feel free to stick around so we can learn as much as we can. Our topic of the day is how to set up your first Django project. The reason I'm shooting this video so early in the year is that I have a number of tutorials planned for you and they will rely on your knowledge to set up Django on your own. While I will cover the initial process of setting up Django with each video, it will not be as detailed as this one. So if you're new to the framework, this is a place to start. In this video, we will also cover a few more topics such as what is Django, what is a web framework, and what I love about working with Django. By the end of this tutorial, you should have the knowledge to confidently set up a Django project on your own, complete with all the required dependencies. And so, without wasting too much of your time, Django is a high-level Python web framework designed to help web developers build fully functional web applications. If you go to the main website, its creators describe it as a web framework for perfectionists with deadlines. As you're going to learn, Django is extremely useful and easy to use. It comes with a lot of support and it is just fun to work with. However, before we dive in, we need to answer one basic question. What is a web framework? So put simply, a web framework is a system of combined tools, technologies, and methodologies designed to help you build a fully functioning website. Django is one such framework and is considered one of the best in the world. So first things first, I love Django for two reasons. Well, there are more, but two reasons stand out for me. One is that it is versatile. You can build almost any application using Django, from social media sites, search engines, e-commerce stores, and simple website. Django allows you to go wild and build whatever you want. In fact, some of the most famous companies in the world, such as Instagram, National Geographic, Mozilla, and I think Spotify, use Django. Second, Django is easy to learn and use. You see, back when I was first getting into web development, I was sort of on a short deadline. I needed a framework that allowed me to make real progress fast. Since I had learned Python as my first programming language, I was naturally drawn to Django, which I would later come to love. Finally, and this is sort of a bonus, Django comes with most of the things you need for whatever project ready and prepped for you. We call these batteries included. This means that setting up your project and making it work will not need too much work. I am sure you're going to have a lot of fun with Django, like I and millions of other developers have every day. And now it is time to set up your first Django project. We're going to need a few tools or a few things before you get started. And the first one is your CMD. Then you're going to also need a code editor. I use VS Code and would advise you to use the same. There are others though you could use, like PyCharm, which is equally great. A browser such as Chrome and Firefox is also another tool I would like you to use. So why these tools? Well, your CMD is where we will write all the commands we need to create files and folders and basically organize our project. It is also where we will download all the dependencies required for the project to work and monitor the server that powers Django. Your code editor is where you write code, but we won't be using much of it in this tutorial. Your browser, on the other hand, shows you the output and it will come much later. So if you have everything ready, I think we can go ahead and get started. The first time to setting up your Django project is to create a virtual environment. A virtual environment is a sort of contained area where you can build your project without it interfering with everything else. Virtual environments allow you to build multiple projects without their dependencies crossing. To better visualize a virtual environment, think of your computer as a shelf with multiple layers. Each layer will hold a specific set of items and each of these layers is what we refer to as a virtual environment. So if, for example, you're building an e-commerce site, it will go to a specific virtual environment. If your next project requires that you build a social networking platform, it will be in its own virtual environment together with its dependencies. So to create this virtual environment, start off by opening your CMD and type mk virtual env together with the name followed by the name of your virtual environment. So in this case, because this is a YouTube video, we're going to name it YouTube and then hit enter. Now allow me to expand this a bit so you can see better. Depending on your system, this might take a while. Clearly mine is taking its time, but then again, virtual environments are quite big. if you come here and check on environments, wherever your environment is located, and pick any of the very many virtual environments that I've created, you'll see that it is quite big. Check on the properties. You'll see that it is quite large with more than 1,000 files and more than 1,000 folders and counting, as you can see here. This is quite large, and depending on your system, it may take a while for the virtual environment to be created. Nonetheless, give it time for it to create your virtual environment. And there you have it, created virtual environment. And it's also giving you the version of Python that you're using, that is 3.9.0. And as you can see, we have the name of our virtual environment clearly stated here along your folder arrangements in your computer. Now, we know that we're inside the virtual environment because of how it is stated here. Say, for example, I close this window, then open it again. You can see here that our virtual environment is not visible. So how do we activate? And we want to build this our project within this virtual environment. The only way to access this project that you're building is through the virtual environment. So to do this, we are going to work on YouTube. So what we're basically doing here is telling our computer to work on this virtual environment that we created. And if you hit enter, you're going to see that YouTube is going to be activated. And say, for example, you want to get out of your virtual environment and maybe jump into another one. As you have seen in my folder, I have quite a number of virtual environments created here, and each of these belongs to a different project. So in the event you want to do this, you might not need this in future, but let me just teach you, because it's cool to teach you. You type deactivate YouTube, and there you have it. YouTube has been deactivated. But since on this project we are working on YouTube, let us work on YouTube. Hit enter, and now we are inside the virtual environment. Now our next step in creating this project is to install Django. So Django is quite easy to install because you're only going to use a tool called pip. This is a very famous tool that you're going to use throughout your Django career. So you're going to type pip install Django, and then hit enter. Now give this time to download. Mine is likely going to download to get it from a cached version of Django, but yours is going to download it afresh if you've never downloaded Django before. Again, depending on your system, this might take a while. As you can see, mine is taking a while because my computer has to actually verify that the Django I want to download is safe for my system, and I think I'm about to get a message that it is safe. It's quite inefficient. Some of the security measures we put are quite inefficient, but they're there for a reason. As you can see, collecting Django using cached Django 4.1.5. As I said before, it's probably going to be to use the cached version of Django because I downloaded Django recently. And you can see that Django did not come alone. It came with other dependencies such as this ASGI, ref, SQL pass, and TZ data. These are dependencies that allow Django to run smoothly on your computer and also allow you to interact with Django more efficiently or better. So as you can see, it is installing the collected packages. You should see this message. If yours is successful, you should see the message successfully installed Django together with the rest of the dependencies that I mentioned before. Now once we've done this, we have started our virtual environment, we have downloaded Django into it. Now it's time to build our main folder. Now the purpose of this main folder is to house the rest of the project, and creating a folder is quite easy. I know you're used to this method of creating folders. Let me show you and tell me if I'm right. You'll come either here and create a folder, then name it new folder blah blah blah, or you'll come here, say this, create a new folder, and all that. Now I know you're probably used to that, but since you're working with code, there is a much cooler way of creating folders at the terminal. And to do that, you're going to type mkdir with the name of your folder. And since this is our main folder, let us call it main. So mkdir stands for make directory. mk make dir directory main, and then hit enter. Now we know that our folder has been created, because if I come to users hp and scroll down, I should see a folder called main. I'm sorry guys, my folder arrangement is a mess, but there is a folder that we created, and you can see we created it at 4:06, and you can see the time here. Nice. So to get into this folder, we can also use commands to do that, and we will do cd main. cd stands for change disk, so cd main, and now you can see that we are inside the c disk user hp main. Now once we're inside the folder, we can now start building our project. I know I'm saying we can now start building our project, but so far we're just making sure that the project that you're building is housed inside an environment that allows you to build it smoothly without you interfering with other projects and other programs in your computer. So to do this, you're going to type Django admin start project, followed by the name of your project. So for example, let us say we want to build a YouTube clone or anything. Let us just call it YouTube, because our virtual environment is called YouTube. So our project is called YouTube. There you go. Django admin start project YouTube, then hit enter. Now again, this might take some time depending on your system. My system is going to do a few checks. You can always ignore that. And as you can see, well, you cannot see anything here, but I know for a fact that my project has been created. So to check whether our project has been created, or we can try getting inside it, which is actually what you're supposed to do next. So to do this, you type cd, the same way you get into our main folder is the same way you'll get inside this project. So cd YouTube, and then hit enter, and now you can see that you're inside users hp, our main folder, and inside our project called YouTube. To this point, we have learned how to create a virtual environment. We have learned how to activate our virtual environment and deactivate it. We've also learned how to install Django using pip, a very useful tool that you're going to use throughout your Django career. And we've learned how to create a folder and get inside it. Now we've just created our project here, and we've called it YouTube, and gotten inside it as well. Right now as we speak, I can assure you that our project is live, but we need to see, right? To build a project, you're building a project so you can see it. So to do this, we are going to need something called a server. Windows provides you with a server that allows you to see the output of your project, and to do this, we are going to type python manage.py run server. There. Before I hit enter, I want us to check the background and see this is our main folder. This is the folder, this is the project we created. As you can see, it is a file folder, and we created at 408. So if I open this, you'll see there is a manage.py. You can see the manage.py here. We are using this manage.py here, and you can also, when you open this YouTube folder, you'll see that there are a number of Python files that you're going to use throughout your project. So you can see there is the init.py, asgi.py, settings.py, urls.py. We're going to get into this in subsequent videos. Do not worry about that. So now back to our terminal, python manage.py run server, and then hit enter. So this is us firing our server, and our server will provide us with two very important things. Number one is this message right here. You have 18 unapplied migrations. Your project will not work properly until you apply the migrations. Do not worry about migrations. I will teach you everything you need to know about migrations later. This section right here is where you will be getting your error messages once you start building your project, and believe me, you're going to get quite a few before you get used to Django. Number two, and this is what we're actually looking for right now, is this address, http 127.0.0.1.8000. Now this address allows us to see the output of our project. Remember, we need to see the output. We need to see what you're building. You cannot build, you're not Jesus. You need to see what you're building. So if you open our browser right here and paste the address on the address bar and hit enter, you should clearly see our output, which is this. So there's a message here that says the install worked successfully, congratulations. You're seeing this page because the bug is goes through, blah blah blah. Now this tells you that your project is live and you're ready to start building your web application. Also, I want you to notice that right at the top on the right hand side, you'll see Django version 4.1. This is the version of Django you're using, and this is the latest, most stable version of Django. You'll also see three links at the bottom. One is for Django documentation. This is a very nifty resource that will help you build your project throughout your Django career. It provides all the methodologies, all the answers, and to all the questions you might have, and providing different functionalities to your Django applications. Then you'll see a tutorial of a polling app and Django community, a link to Django community where you can interact with other developers that work on Django. Now, so far we've learned how to do all that. We can see here, right here, you can see the calls being made as your server is running. This tells you that the server is running. This is always the address that the server is going to give you. It is usually standard for everyone. I'm not sure how you can change it, but this is safe enough to use. And you can see it tells you the time and all the information you need. So up to this point, you've learned how to create a Django environment in a virtual a Django project, in a virtual environment that allows you to build one project without it interacting with anything else. If you want a written version of this tutorial, I have written an article which I will link in the description below. So other than that, I think if you've done this successfully and you followed everything I've shown you, you can now call yourself a web developer, or a beginner web developer at least, right? Anyway, you're going to learn more, you're going to enjoy Django, and you're going to have a fun time building projects using Django. Okay, now you've created your Django project, you know how to set up Django properly, and you can actually see your first output on the server. Now what next? In our next tutorial, we're going to get deeper into Django and learn how to further configure our Django project by building portfolio, working with templates, working with settings, and making sure that our Django project actually translates to a dynamic web application. So until I see you next time, take care.